It's LBI Region Report time, and Lori, it is warming up, and with, of course, the warm weather means we gather around our many waterways and all that. I don't think that you can, have a summer without some sort of
Salt.
connection,
Yeah.
salt in the air, or fresh water, whichever floats your boat, literally. But yeah, so much here at the shore that it does involve. Of course, obviously, it is the shore. It's going to involve some fun along the shore, but also understanding that there's definitely some organizations that keep all of that, the pristine thing that it is that keeps people coming back over and over.
Yes, and we do have with us to really discuss a little bit more in detail about the importance and all the conservation that goes into it, all the advocacy and everything that why it matters and why it's so important is Britta Forsberg. She is the executive director of Save Barnegat Bay, joining us as we head into the summer. We're getting ready for Memorial Day. We're getting ready for that, just, summer 2026. And Britta, I know you are such an advocate and so respected. Our audience, we have a lot of new neighbors. We have a lot of people that, come down for the first time and listen to the show. Can you explain what Save Barnegat Bay does?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. And Save Barnegat Bay is really proud to be a member of the Southern Ocean Chamber and to be able to be connected so much with the communities and also the businesses in the southern part of the bay. And so Save Barnegat Bay is a 55-year-old organization that was started at a kitchen table in the northern part of the bay with people from Mantoloking and Bricktown. They were fighting a development at a spot that is affectionately known today as F Cove.
Hmm.
Your listeners and viewers have know where F Cove is. It's an F in a marsh because it was going to be a lagoon community. And in 1971, the neighbors noticed that there was effects to the natural environment, that the water quality was diminishing, that they saw less wildlife. And the folks at that kitchen table happened to be hunters and fishers,
Hmm.
which today in modern Ocean County, we think of, not happening in the northern part of the bay. But in fact, the folks were very connected to the resource. And so that's why they noticed things starting to diminish. And so that happened, 55 years ago. People think the efforts to save Barnegat Bay might be 20 or 30 years old, but it's actually the original McCoy 55 years ago. And those neighbors had to fight for 30 years to protect that spot. And eventually we conveyed it to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And today it's protected for wildlife, but it happens to be one of the biggest party spots on the bay. So there's a lot of boating, drinking, all the things that you can think of in F Cove today. So a lot of wildlife, all different kinds.
All different kinds.
Yeah. And so anyway, we are essentially an organization that is not from Trenton, not from DC. We are very local, made up of voters, taxpayers, people who live in Ocean County or vacation in Ocean County, who are what I say tragically in love with Barnegat Bay. Tragically because we're loving it to death, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and
Uh,
and again, why this matters to everyone is
mhm,
that the fact that the bay has to stay healthy to
mhm.
support tourism, fishing, the property values, and the quality of life. And protecting the bay is really everybody's responsibility. I mean, I know you've been, you and your group have led the way, but I mean, we cannot deal with. And I know in the past there has been issues where people were feeling that, what, we need to really conserve what's going on here because we don't want it to get to that next level. And that's where the advocacy comes in on your part.
Yeah, essentially, people, when you first meet them and talk about Save Barnegat Bay or the efforts to save the bay, whether it's our organization or Reclaim the Bay or Rutgers, there's lots of people working on this particular mission. Essentially, Barnegat Bay is the largest body of water in the state of New Jersey, and
Mhm.
it's a lagoonal estuary, which means it's very shallow. These slow-moving creeks that are trickling out of the Pine Barrens are not moving quick. They're not adding a lot of sediment to the system. And if without the navigational channels, you could literally almost walk across the bay. Anybody who's out there boating and fishing knows that. You got to go slow, right? It's very shallow.
Hmm.
So, what are we saving Barnegat Bay from? Ultimately, over the last 50 years, Ocean County at one point was the fastest growing county in the nation.
Wow.
We went from 180,000 people to 600,000 people. That's a lot of houses, a lot of driveways, a lot of roads. And so ultimately, when a raindrop falls out of the sky, it hits a hard surface instead of in the past it used to hit a natural surface and percolate down into the soils. So the leading problem facing Barnegat Bay is essentially runoff.
Hmm.
The rainwater hitting these hard surfaces, picking up pollutants and heading to the bay. So we have worked on big projects like conserving land. Ocean County is a leading county, having preserved more than 50% of the land permanently in perpetuity, natural.
Wow.
But a water body starts to get in trouble when about 25% of the land is developed, and Ocean County is just over 30% developed now.
Wow. Yeah.
So
And it's
we start,
noticeable, right? I mean, that's
yeah,
the draw. Everybody wants to be by the water and they would love to live by the water.
that's it.
And
And we're
that's
feeling that, and the bay is feeling that. And so, fertilizers that we put on our lawns for the longest time were the leading cause of nutrient pollution to the bay. They still are because we want green grass, we have beautiful homes, and we want to be able to enjoy our yards. So we think, okay, we put out this bag of fertilizer, but what we forget to realize is that that fertilizer runs off our lawn into the bay and feeds the algae and all the green things in the bay to grow too much and too fast also. And that is what is essentially crowding out all the good life in the bay. It's landing on the eelgrass and making the eelgrass unable to photosynthesize and add oxygen back into the water column for fish and crabs and scallops and oysters to breathe in the water. So it's really up to all of us. We've done things like, we wrote the New Jersey fertilizer law,
mm-hmm.
the strictest fertilizer content law in the nation. And that law is about 10 years old now, just over 10 years old. So we plan to actually, in this legislative cycle, go back to the legislature and ask them to strengthen that law. We had originally asked for 40% slow release nitrogen. We had to, as normally you do with legislation, we had to negotiate down, which we got to 20%, but we're still having too much nitrogen in the bay. So we plan to go back to the legislature this year with the new governor and say it's time for us to move that up to 40%. And so we have ultimately removed millions of pounds of phosphorus from our waterways throughout New Jersey, all started here in Barnegat Bay, and millions of pounds of nitrogen also. But it just hasn't gone far enough. The development is outpacing the water quality.
And to your point, smart solutions, affordable smart solutions do exist. You were, had mentioned in some of the information that you sent to me that it doesn't need massive infrastructure to make the progress. There's rain gardens and living shorelines and better planning that can reduce, a
That's
lot of what you're, what you've mentioned, the concerns.
So we can be smart. The best return on investment is nature, right? Nature does the best job at filtering things out. So the best we can do to keep things natural and save open space, put in living shorelines, look at native plants in your yard. Something that people are always thinking about is, hey, I have a lawn. Do I have to take out the whole lawn? No, you don't need to do that. But if your property is near a water's edge, a stream, a creek, even a lagoon community, you should be planting native plants near the edge closest to the water.
Hmm.
Those plants have evolved over many years that their roots are longer than the plant above the surface of the land. And they do a great job at not only collecting nutrients and floodwaters, but they also keep things like Canada geese off of our lawns because they don't like that big, tall native plant near the water's edge. They're afraid that a predator is going to get them. There's lots of things that you can do in your yard. You can even try not using fertilizer at all and just see if it affects your yard. Many people say, in the shore area, I didn't fertilize at all last year. It's the middle of the winter and my lawn is still green. So you can just give it a break, which
Yeah.
saves you money, right? And there's a lot of things that people can really do that are fairly simple, really. We're not having a big ask here. We're saying, think about it. Look at your own yard. If you look at what has happened in the Chesapeake Bay, which has had a lot of recovery, people read about it. The Chesapeake Bay spans across, and its watershed spans across 5 states.
Mm,
In the case of Barnegat Bay, the whole bay fits inside of Ocean County, one county,
yeah.
right?
We
So
can make some changes.
we can do it right on our own yards, really. And if our towns, we have to support our planning boards, zoning boards,
Hmm.
mayor and council to make the right decisions. They need support. They need to hear from us and that we really care about our quality of life, our property values, and that small investments and good decisions can really have a good yield for Barnegat Bay.
Yeah, that community engagement is critical,
Mhm.
especially as you said with our local leadership. So, how can people help? I know you had some. I mean, first of all, the website where they can get tips and tools. I'm sure you're probably a resource. What website should they visit?
Yeah, so we do have a website that I think is fairly easy to use. It's savebarnegatbay.org.
Hmm.
There are lots of other organizations as well out there, in our communities working Reclaim the Bay. We have oyster farmers now that are growing oysters in the bay. It's a great way to support the local economy and support really good blue jobs.
Hmm.
And a single oyster is filtering out about 40 to 45 gallons of the bay per day.
Wow.
So think about that, right?
Yeah.
It took a long time for us to get oyster farming in the bay. You could go out to a local eatery, your local business or the grocery store or one of the fish markets, buy some oysters, throw back a few beers with your friends and family, and be supporting cleaning up the bay. Now that's good ecotourism.
That's definitely a simple action that people would definitely take into consideration. So you had mentioned the small changes of reducing fertilizer use, picking up pet waste, planting those native species, and supporting, like you said, the oyster farmers that are right here, and definitely supporting your organization and staying in touch with you and making sure when you need advocacy and you need to reach out to your local community leaders that you have the support. And that is right through that Save Barnegat Bay website.
You can go to the website and we actually, so Save Barnegat Bay does not have membership. We don't have dues.
Hmm.
A very informal structure, which means we accept time, treasure, or talent. So you can join us by saying you joined us. And if you send $5 or $500, it's, we're happy to receive that. 99.9% of our support financially, and you can go to our IRS reports, is from local families and small businesses.
Mm.
And so we don't really have a lot of grant and foundation money. We don't go after a lot of that because we don't like anyone telling us what we can do or say for the Bay.
Yeah.
It's been our position a long time. But we do support a lot of municipalities in grant work so that they get the grant money, so that they can do the projects in their towns that benefit the waterway. And we partner with a lot of organizations and really try to bring, that effort to the Bay. There's been a lot of success in Barnegat Bay, and we just need to continue that work, protecting land, stopping using fertilizers, putting in natives. The dog waste is really a big deal, I've got to say.
Mhm.
Um, a singular dog waste on a beach can close a beach.
Mm.
Bacteria that is coming from any animal's gut affects a waterway in such a way that if you're swimming, you could get a bad ear infection or nose infection. And a lot of our waterways, unfortunately, in Barnegat Bay no longer meet swimmable conditions. The entire Toms River doesn't meet EPA guidelines for fishable or swimmable, for example. The Southern Bay also, I should mention this, 'cause I think probably a lot of your listeners are from the Southern Bay.
Mm.
And folks in the Southern Bay often refer to the bay as Manahawkin Bay or Little Egg Harbor Bay.
Right.
And those are correct, but they are micro tidal bays of Barnegat Bay.
Okay, that's good to know because people do have those arguments. I mean, we see them over and over again about what the correct title is. So Barnegat Bay is correct, as well as Little Egg and Manahawkin.
That's right. And if someone says to you Barnegat Bay proper,
Mm.
they're talking about the Northern Bay because there are not micro tidal bays in the Northern Bay. In the Southern Bay, it's Manahawkin and Little Lake Harbor Bay, but they are part of Barnegat Bay.
It's good to know. See that? You educated us right off the bat.
That's
So
part of it, you know. People need to have good conversations. They learn a little bit, you
they
know.
do. They do. So again, come out, find out more about Save Barnegat Bay, get in touch with Britta, find out what you need to do if you're new to the area, if you're unfamiliar, because living in our area is a little different. So, get to know some of these organizations that are going to protect that investment and that quality of life. So thank you so much for joining us. And we really appreciate all that you do.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. You're really doing a great job reaching out to everyone. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care. So, yes, so absolutely, Save Barnegat Bay. You could go to visit lbiregion.com if you need more information. And before we sign off, there's some events we just want to let everyone be aware of. May 7th is Samba into Summer. The Southern Ocean Chamber is doing an evening of networking and community spirit at Seacrest. And it's coming up. It's going to have food and drink, and there's even going to be samba demonstrations and giveaways. And a portion of the evening's proceeds will go to Interfaith Senior and Support Services. So if you're in business, come out. You could register. Obviously, Seacrest Rehab and Healthcare Center is in Center Street in Little Lake Harbor, but you can register right on the Chamber website. And then we're really excited. World Cup fever is starting.
Oh, yes, it's
and
starting.
Southern Ocean Chamber is part of that. We have a World Watch Party weekend coming up. It's going to be a weekend of community on a global scale, June 13th and 14th, hosted at LBI National Golf. Saturday, June 13th, is the World Class Business Watch Party. That's a business-to-business event with all sorts of cocktail-style reception, plus watching a great game in private event space. That is the Brazil versus Morocco game. And then Sunday, June 14th, we are partnering with youth soccer associations. We're going to have a youth soccer showcase. It's a free community watch party. Chamber members are going to be there with their vendor tables. It's beginning at 3 p.m. And it's going to be, again, a great time for skills demonstration, practice tips, casual scrimmages, and then the Netherlands versus Japan game, which is going to be on an outside screen, as well as for those that want to be in the wiki room and having a great dinner and cocktails, you'll be able to watch it there as well with all of the chamber vendors that'll be there. So 2 great events coming up for June, but before that, we have May 7th, Samba into Summer. So please just go to visit lbiregion.com and get connected with us, whether you're a business, you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur. We have a business community that's dying to meet you. So get in touch with us. Thanks.
And make sure you look for the show as a podcast wherever podcasts can be found.